an old woman told to sing at a talent show as a joke, but her performance earns a standing ovation. When TV producers selected Beatrice for America's Spotlight, hoping to create a comedic moment, they never expected what would happen. The 68-year-old woman in her flower dress seemed so out of place on that grand stage. Everyone was ready to laugh, until the moment she opened her mouth and changed everything forever. Beatrice Caldwell adjusted her reading glasses, squinting at the crossword puzzle in today's newspaper. Morning sunlight streamed through lace curtains that had adorned her windows for over 30 years. The modest apartment in Millfield, Ohio, wasn't much, but it was home. 7 letters. Musical term for very loud, she muttered to herself. Forissimo. Her pen moved with certainty. At 68, Beatrice had settled into the predictable rhythm of retirement. Mornings with coffee and crosswords, afternoons volunteering at the local library, Thursdays at her church choir practice where she sang alto. Always blending in, never standing out. The telephone's shrill ring interrupted her routine. "Hello," Beatrice answered, tucking a strand of silver blonde hair behind her ear. "Mrs. Caldwell, it's Martha from the choir. Did you see the news? They're holding auditions for America's Spotlight at the convention center next Tuesday." Beatrice chuckled. "Martha, you know those talent shows aren't for people like us." "Nonsense. You have the most beautiful voice I've ever heard. Even Pastor Williams says so. I haven't sung solo in, well, I can't remember when." Her fingers unconsciously touched the small music box on her side table, the only reminder of dreams long abandoned. After hanging up, Beatrice moved to her bathroom mirror, studying the reflection that stared back. Lines etched around her eyes told stories of joy and sorrow. The flower dress she wore, her favorite, hung a bit looser than it once had. She hummed softly, then let her voice rise, filling the small bathroom with rich, warm tones. For a moment, she wasn't a widow living alone in a 2-bedroom apartment. She was young again, full of hope, standing on the stage of her high school auditorium. Before everything changed. Before Professor Winters had destroyed her confidence with his cutting remarks. "Technically adequate, Miss Jenkins, but utterly forgettable. You lack the spark that separates amateurs from artists." 50 years later, his words still stung. Beatrice closed her eyes, the melody fading. She had accepted her life's quiet path, raising her daughter as a single mother after losing her husband too young, working as an elementary school secretary until retirement. Music had become something private, sacred, confined to shower performances and back row choir positions. Little did she know that 3 miles away, in that very moment, Martha was uploading a video to the America's Spotlight website. A clip she had secretly recorded of Beatrice singing a solo during last Easter service when the lead soprano had fallen ill. Life was about to change, whether Beatrice was ready or not. 3 days later, Beatrice's phone rang again. This time, the caller ID displayed a number she didn't recognize. "Hello, Mrs. Caldwell, this is Ryan Matthews from America's Spotlight. I'm calling because we received your audition video." Beatrice's heart skipped. "I'm sorry, there must be some mistake. I didn't submit any video." Ryan chuckled. "Well, someone certainly did. A beautiful rendition of Amazing Grace in what looks like a church service. That was you, wasn't it?" Her mind raced, immediately suspecting Martha's well-intentioned meddling. "Yes, but I didn't. Mrs. Caldwell, we'd like to invite you to perform on next week's show. Your voice has a unique quality that could make for a memorable television moment." In the production office across town, Ryan covered the mouthpiece and winked at his colleague. They needed their weekly sympathetic elimination. The contestant audience's love for their heart, but vote off for their lack of talent. Senior citizens were ratings gold. Viewers ate up these segments. "I couldn't possibly," Beatrice stammered. "I haven't performed solo in decades." "All the more reason. America loves comeback stories. Think about it, inspiring seniors everywhere." Beatrice hesitated. "I don't know. We'll arrange transportation, hotel accommodation, everything. Just one song, Mrs. Caldwell. What do you say?" After hanging up, Beatrice paced her living room, alternately thrilled and terrified. She dialed her daughter in Cincinnati. "Mom, that's amazing," Karen exclaimed. "You have to do it. At my age, I'll look ridiculous." "You'll look brave," Karen countered. "Remember what you always told me? Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage." Beatrice smiled, hearing her own words repeated back. "That's a nice neen, dear." "Well, it's still true. Mom, when Dad died, you put everything on hold for me. Your dreams, your life, everything. Maybe this is the universe giving you a second chance. Later that evening, Martha appeared at Beatrice's door with flowers and apologies. I should have asked your permission, she admitted. But I've heard you sing when you think no one's listening. The world deserves to hear that voice. Beatrice shook her head. I called them back. I'm going to do it. Martha squealed, embracing her friend tightly. You're going to be wonderful. What neither woman knew was that, in the America's Spotlight production office, Beatrice's file had been marked with a small red flag, Southeast, sympathetic elimination. Her fate had already been decided before she'd sing a single note. The massive studio complex loomed before Beatrice like a fortress. Her hands clutched her purse tightly as the production assistant led her through a labyrinth of corridors. First time on television? The young woman asked, barely looking up from her clipboard. Is it that obvious? Beatrice attempted a smile. Don't worry. Most contestants are nervous. Hair and makeup are first, then vocal coaching, then camera blocking. The makeup room buzzed with activity. Young performers with perfect skin getting touch-ups, muscular dancers stretching in corners, a teenage girl practicing guitar riffs. Beatrice felt conspicuously out of place in her modest blue dress with flower embroidery, the same one she'd worn to her granddaughter's baptism last spring. Beatrice Caldwell, a makeup artist, approached, assessing her face with professional detachment. Let's see what we can do here. 90 minutes later, Beatrice barely recognized the woman in the mirror. Her silver blonde hair had been styled in soft waves, her lips painted a youthful pink, her eyes accentuated with subtle shadow. Not too much, I hope? She asked timidly. The makeup artist smiled kindly. You look beautiful, honey. Age-appropriate, but camera-ready. In the rehearsal space, contestants warmed up under the watchful eye of Ryan Matthews, the producer who had called her, surveyed the room with calculating eyes, stopping occasionally to offer encouragement or direction. When he reached Beatrice, his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Mrs. Caldwell, our golden girl. How are you feeling? A bit overwhelmed, to be honest. That's natural. He patted her shoulder. Remember, just have fun with it. The audience loves authenticity. As Ryan walked away, Beatrice overheard him whispering to another producer. Perfect for the sympathy segment. The grandma everyone wishes they had. Her heart sank. Was that all she was? A token elderly contestant? In the lunch area, Beatrice sat alone until a young woman with purple hair and multiple piercings plopped down beside her. I'm Zoe. You're the church lady, right? Beatrice nodded hesitantly. Don't let Ryan fool you, Zoe said, lowering her voice. I've worked as a stagehand here before. They always slot one older person they can play for laughs or tears. It's good for ratings. The words stung, but Beatrice maintained her dignity. I see. What are you singing? At Last, by Etta James. Zoe's eyebrows shot up. Bold choice. That's not easy. It was my husband's favorite, Beatrice smiled softly. He used to say I sang it better than Etta herself. Well, Zoe said, gathering her tray. Prove them all wrong, church lady. Night fell outside the studio, but inside, final rehearsals continued under harsh lights. Beatrice sat in her dressing room, staring at the sheet music before her. Just hours remained before the live broadcast. A knock at the door preceded Karen's entrance. Her daughter had driven 3 hours to support her. Mom, you look amazing. Karen embraced her tightly. I feel like an imposter, Beatrice confessed. The other contestants are so talented, so young. Karen took her mother's hands. Tell me what's really bothering you. Beatrice's eyes grew distant. I keep hearing Professor Winter's voice in my head. It's been 50 years, but somehow being here brings it all back. Your college music teacher? The one who told you to quit? Beatrice nodded. It was my final recital. I'd practiced for months. Afterward, he called me into his office and said I'd never have what it takes. That some people aren't meant for the spotlight. Karen shook her head. And you believed him? I was 20. What did I know? Beatrice's voice wavered. The next week I dropped my music major and switched to education. Mom. Karen hesitated, then pulled out her phone. I need to show you something. She played a video, the same church performance Martha had submitted. Beatrice watched herself singing, unaware of being recorded. Look at the faces in the congregation, Karen urged. The camera panned across teary-eyed church members, their expressions wrapped with emotion. That's what your voice does to people, Mom. Not technically adequate, transformative. Beatrice's eyes filled with tears. I don't know if I can do this. You don't have to. We can walk out right now. Karen squeezed her hand. But I think you'll regret it if you do. A production assistant appeared at the door. Mrs. Caldwell, 15 minutes to places. After Karen left, Beatrice closed her eyes, memories washing over her. Her husband's face the first time he heard her sing. Her daughter as a toddler, falling asleep to lullabies. The church choir members who always said her harmonies carried them through difficult passages. Professor Winter's voice still lingered, but now other voices joined it. Martha's encouragement. Zoe's challenge. Karen's belief. Beatrice opened her eyes and squared her shoulders. She'd spent 50 years hiding in back rows and shower stalls. Even if they were using her as a joke, even if she failed spectacularly, she would fail on her own terms. She touched up her lipstick, straightened her flower dress, and stepped into the hallway. Whatever happened next, she would sing her truth. The stage of America's spotlight was designed to intimidate. Blinding lights, a live audience of 1,200, 3 celebrity judges known for their brutal honesty, and cameras capturing every angle. Backstage, contestants huddled like gladiators preparing for battle. "You're 8th in the lineup," a stage manager informed Beatrice. Right after the teenage rock band and before the opera singer. She nodded, her throat suddenly dry. The first contestant, a young acrobatic dancer, bounded onto the stage to enthusiastic applause. Ryan Matthews appeared at Beatrice's side, all television smiles and polished encouragement. "Remember, Mrs. Caldwell, just be yourself. America loves authenticity." The same words he'd used earlier, but now Beatrice detected their hollow center. Performances blurred together as Beatrice's moment approached. The teenage rock band finished to thunderous applause, their energy electric. Then silence fell as the stage was reset. "Next up," the host announced, "a grandmother from Ohio who's proving it's never too late to chase your dreams. Please welcome Beatrice Caldwell." The audience clapped politely as Beatrice walked to center stage. The microphone stand seemed miles away. The lights blinded her, transforming the audience into a dark, faceless mass. She could sense the collective judgment. Her outdated dress with its flower embroidery, her age-spotted hands, her silver blonde hair. A camera zoomed in close enough for her to hear its mechanical whir. "Good evening," Beatrice said, her voice barely a whisper. The microphone caught it, amplifying her nervousness. Someone in the audience tittered. Another coughed pointedly. Mrs. Caldwell, the lead judge, a former boy band singer, spoke. "Tell us about yourself." "I'm Beatrice Caldwell, 68 years old, from Millfield, Ohio. And what brings you to our stage tonight?" She paused, considering the scripted answer the producers had suggested. Something about fulfilling lifelong dreams and inspiring seniors everywhere. Instead, she said simply, "My friend Martha recorded me singing in church and submitted it without telling me." Genuine laughter rippled through the audience, not mockery, but warm appreciation for her honesty. "Well, let's see what Martha saw in you." The judge smiled indulgently. "What will you be performing?" "At Last," by Etta James. The judges exchanged glances. It was a notoriously difficult song that had humbled many contestants half her age. The music began, those iconic opening strings swelling through the studio. Beatrice closed her eyes, letting the familiar melody wash over her. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the microphone stand. When she opened her eyes again, she wasn't seeing the audience or judges. She was seeing Richard, her late husband, the night they danced to this song at their wedding. At last, her voice emerged, tentative at first. In the control room, Ryan Matthews leaned forward. "Get ready for the reaction shots." He instructed the director, "This should be good." But then something unexpected happened. Beatrice's voice opened up on the second line, rich and full of emotion, carrying decades of life experience in every note. This wasn't a technically perfect voice. It had the character that only age and living could provide, a slight raspiness that added authenticity no vocal coach could teach. "My lonely days are over." The audience, primed for amusement, instead fell completely silent. "Life is like a song." In the wings, Karen pressed her hands to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. On stage, Beatrice was transforming before everyone's eyes. Standing taller, her hands leaving the microphone stand to gesture expressively, her face illuminated with joy as she approached the song's climax. Her voice soared, carrying all the passion of a woman who had loved and lost, who had weathered life's storms and emerged stronger. "You are mine at last." The final note hung in the air, perfect, transcendent, undiminished by time. For 3 eternal seconds, silence reigned. The silence shattered as the audience erupted. It began with a single person in the front row, a middle-aged woman who leapt to her feet, hands clapping wildly above her head. Like a wave, the standing ovation spread through the crowd, row by row, until all 1,200 audience members were on their feet. Beatrice stood frozen, blinking against the bright lights. Was this really happening? The applause continued, growing thunderous, punctuated by whistles and cheers. Someone shouted, "Bravo!" A young man in the balcony pressed his fingers to his mouth and released an ear-piercing whistle of appreciation. In the control room, producers stared at the monitors in disbelief. "Are you seeing this?" Ryan Matthews whispered, his face pale. The segment planned for gentle mockery had backfired spectacularly. The lead judge, known for his cutting remarks and impossible standards, was on his feet, clapping emphatically. The female judge was openly weeping, mascara running down her cheeks. The third judge, a veteran music producer, simply shook his head in amazement. Mrs. Caldwell, the lead judge, finally spoke, when the applause died down enough for him to be heard. "I don't even know what to say. That was extraordinary." The female judge dabbed at her eyes. "You didn't just sing that song, you lived it. I felt every emotion, every word. That's what music is supposed to do." The third judge leaned forward. "I've heard hundreds of versions of that song. Yours stands among the very best, and I'm including Etta herself. The technical perfection of youth can't compare to the emotional depth you brought to it." In the wings, Karen sobbed openly while Martha, who had been given a special guest pass, grabbed the arm of a nearby stagehand. "That's my friend," she repeated over and over. "I told you." Zoe, the purple-haired contestant, stood slack-jawed by the curtain. "Holy shit," she whispered. On stage, Beatrice finally found her voice again. "Thank you," she said softly into the microphone. "Thank you so much." "No, Mrs. Caldwell," the lead judge replied. "Thank you for reminding us what this show is supposed to be about. Genuine talent, regardless of age or appearance." The host approached, handing Beatrice a tissue. She hadn't realized she was crying. "I think it's safe to say," the host announced, "that Beatrice Caldwell has earned her spot in the next round." Another roar from the audience confirmed his words. As Beatrice was escorted off stage, her legs barely supporting her, she passed Ryan Matthews. Their eyes met briefly. His expression was unreadable, but he gave her a small nod, acknowledgement, perhaps even respect. In that moment, Professor Winter's voice in her head fell silent at last. The following morning, Beatrice's performance had gone viral. Clips appeared on news programs. Social media platforms erupted with praise, and her phone wouldn't stop ringing. "Mom, you've got 3 million views already," Karen exclaimed, scrolling through her phone during breakfast in Beatrice's hotel room. "People are calling you the voice of experience and America's grandma." Beatrice buttered her toast with steady hands. The panic and insecurity of yesterday seemed to belong to another lifetime. "It's all rather overwhelming." A knock at the door revealed a beaming Ryan Matthews, holding a bouquet of flowers. His chagrined expression couldn't quite hide his excitement. "Mrs. Caldwell, I owe you an apology," he began, "and a thank you. Last night's ratings were our highest this season." She accepted the flowers with gracious dignity. "No apology necessary, Mr. Matthews. Sometimes being underestimated is a gift. It gives one the element of surprise." Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "We've received calls from 3 record labels this morning. They're interested in discussing opportunities with you." Beatrice's eyes widened. "At my age, as the judges said, your voice has something unique. Life experience that resonates with people. Would you be interested in exploring these options?" Later, as she prepared for her second appearance on the show, Beatrice found herself humming contentedly. Her phone chimed with a text message from an unfamiliar number. "Professor James Winters here. I'm 92 now, retired in Florida. Saw your performance last night. I was wrong about you all those years ago, profoundly, unforgivably wrong. You were always extraordinary. I'm sorry." Beatrice read the message twice, then smiled softly. After 50 years, the wound could finally heal. In the mirror, she saw herself clearly, not just an old woman in a flower dress, but an artist whose time had finally come. Better late than never. If Beatrice's story touched your heart, remember that talent doesn't diminish with age. Sometimes it only grows richer. In a world quick to dismiss the elderly, we miss the wisdom, experience, and beauty they offer. What hidden talents are waiting to be discovered in your life? Share in the comments where you're watching from and subscribe for more stories that remind us to look beyond appearances. Because sometimes the most remarkable performances come when we least expect them.